Welcome to the first edition of the Deakin Report. We'll be bringing you news from the Your Rights at Work community campaign in the federal seat of Deakin right up until the federal election due later this year. The seat of Deakin is located in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. It covers Blackburn, Mitcham, Ringwood, Croydon and surrounding areas. In this edition of the Deakin Report, we'll be taking you to a barbecue and rally outside the local MP's office to mark the first anniversary of the introduction of work choices. But first, let's cross to Linda Cargill, coordinator of the Deakin Community Campaign, to hear about the campaign aims and why Deakin is receiving this attention.
Despite all of our lobbying and the pressure we put on the government, they're not willing to make any significant changes to the laws. So our only option is to make sure that the Liberal Party does not win the next federal election. Phil Barassi is sitting in the most marginal Liberal powered seat in Victoria. He sits on a margin of about 4.9% for 4,200 votes, is what that equates to. It's also the 16th most marginal seat in Australia, and for the Liberal Party to lose, the Liberal government to lose power, they must lose 16 seats. So we have to win this seat.
Thank you, Linda. Workers across Australia are being adversely affected by the Howard government's new IR laws, and Deakin is no exception. Two of those workers, Lindy Harris and Arthur Ledwidge, bravely stood up and told their stories to today's rally. The Deakin Report caught up with them afterwards.
I was told over the phone I was no longer required, and just actually at the time a bit shocked at that, because I actually thought it would never happen. Well, I went through different processes of, I was upset at first, then I was really angry. I'd have days where I'd cry, I'd have days where I'd be, okay, there's a reason for this, there's a reason why this has happened to me, and I've got to look forward. I'm looking forward now, and I never thought it would happen to me. I always had the attitude that, you know, it's not going to happen to me, my job's safe.
You spoke out for what you believed in.
I stood up for myself, and I didn't take any rubbish from, and I don't think he liked it much. It's probably a good thing for me. It's given me a bit of confidence, whereas I've lacked that confidence the last couple of months. And going out there, I'm actually pretty shy. So to do this today is a step for me. The amount of people that are so naive and that do not understand the new laws. Like when I first got sacked, I told people that, oh, go for unfair dismissal. I can't. Well, where have you been? Like, and there's people sitting at home now that are in the same position as me that are just going to sit there and do nothing about it.
Because they feel the system is against them.
Exactly.
I worked as a communications technician for 10 years for the second biggest communications firm in Australia. You can figure who that is, all on your own, I believe. I got injured in 2003. I re-injured that again in 2006, and then not long after coming back to work was made redundant. So 28 of us were in the office, and we had an inkling of what was going on. And we were taken to separate rooms and told that we were being made redundant, and in that same meeting said that our vehicles are up for lease, and if we wished to, we could take over the lease. They'd do some sort of deal with all the tools and equipment, and we could become contractors. The bottom line was that 28 of us, all of us had work cover claims in the past, and this is where I come back to the injury. And I've had major spinal surgery as a result of that injury, where they're now questioning that process. So I'm in extreme financial hardship, and it'll be a little while before I get out of that little hole. On a personal point, I suffered depression. I ended up on some medication. The strain it puts on my family and my friends, and especially my girlfriend, why she stuck with me at this point, I've got no idea. But bless her cotton socks, she's still with me. Always believed in a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. That's not occurring. The power is now within industry to hire and fire and do whatever they want, and it doesn't matter. They can have a personality clash with that person. It doesn't matter. They can sack them and get rid of them. We will have no rights as employees at all, and unless we can stop this, unless we can take this government out of Parliament and change the electoral environment, we're screwed.
Linda and Arthur joining us there from Mitcham. Let's cross to Phil Barisi's office in Whitehorse Road now and hear from Dean Mile, who's addressing the crowd.
There's a couple of things. I just want to say to Linda and Arthur that it takes a lot of courage sometimes to talk about ordeals that you've been through, and your confidence shouldn't be low. It should be on top of the world because you've done a great job. You're brave enough to talk about it. But there's lots of people in the same situation as Linda and Arthur around the place. Nothing in the great Australian history the Howard government wants to tell me about is anything about anyone ripping anybody off. But yet the Australian history that John Howard government will be remembered for is for trying to leave a legacy where Australians profit and gain a better life in his eyes by making more money at the expense of others. That's not the sort of Australia I want my kids to grow up in. It's not the sort of legacy that we can afford. Just as Linda said so perfectly before, let's not go down as the generation that allows despicable workplace laws to come through that means we as Australians hand over a country in worse condition than we got it and condemn our kids to a future of slavery. Wage slavery, the American style of politics, has no place here. Phil Barisi has supported work choices. He loves work choices. Does he care about Linda and Arthur or the other hundreds and thousands of Australians who are in exactly the same situation as they are?
I see so many people out here, especially in Deakin. This is not something we really see quite often, is public demonstrations in Deakin. And it gives me really great pleasure to stand up here as the newly press-elected Labor candidate for Deakin and say that I fully support the ACTU's Your Rights at Work campaign from start through to the finish. The finish of this is going to be when the likes of Phil Barisi here and John Howard are put into forced retirement. These people have been up here, they've passed laws into Parliament they weren't voted in on. If you have a look at the Liberal policy for the last election in terms of IR, there's nothing about work choices, there's nothing about forced AWAs. This has all been a great con job, pulled on the people of Deakin, pulled on the people of Australia. There is plenty of people in Deakin affected by work choices. You can call it what you may, but people are losing their jobs, are losing entitlements because of AWAs, because of the removal of unfair dismissal protections. We as a community cannot stand by and let these sorts of things be taken off us, conditions and wages that are hard fought for over many, many decades by our predecessors. It's incumbent on us to make sure that the country we pass on to our children and their children is a better country than it is today. Thank you.
These laws are biting and they're biting hard, and people are angry about it, and they want Phil Barisi to come to a public debate to tell his electorate why he is so strongly in support of the laws. So we're going to go in today, we're going to give him the petitions, try to give him the petitions, and hopefully in a couple of months he will be willing to come and talk to his electorate and explain to people like Linda and Arthur how it is in their interests to have these laws.
Sorry. They're trying to